and gentlemen, this is a especially important occasion for us. As Dean Mirsha mentioned, that this institution is all about students. And those who are in the audience, you should know, you are the reason we come to work. Sometimes it may not seem that way, but that is the reason we come to work. Because it is your work, your graduation, when you go into the workforce, that brings credit to this institution. And that is what we are celebrating this morning. We have an alumna from this institution who has done us proud, gone into the real world, made a name, impacted numerous hundreds and thousands of people who listen to her or seek her advice. And that's what we expect all of you students in the audience to do. And we're very grateful that you are being mentored and taught by the very excellent faculty who are practitioners of knowledge. I say that with a purpose. There are institutions that produce graduates that publish a lot of papers, but they have actually no reliance or knowledge of the real world. It's like somebody who is an engineer, you know how to build graphically a microwave, but actually doesn't know how to open one. That doesn't happen at Workstations. So we are theory and practice institution. So our management produces graduates, MBA or undergraduates, or doctoral candidates, who are actually practitioners. They practice what they learn in the classroom or in the College of Management. So we're very proud of that. And one person who represents all the good things in management is here with us this morning, and it's my pleasure to introduce Rosemary Baer, a 2003 MBA alumna, is the Chief Inspirational Officer of Ardent Cause LC3. Now for a biologist, this is a little hard to decipher what these things mean, but I'm learning. A nationally recognized technology company surviving the nonprofit and educational industries with software solutions that achieve better results and outcomes through data collection. All good things and reliable things are data-driven, not emotional or thought process, but data-driven. Mining, she is involved in mining analysis, visualization, and communication of results. The company provides unique capabilities for improving organizational performance. We have those expertise in-house as well. And enabling effective collaboration and community impact through cross-organizational information sharing. At Ardent Cause, her company, Rosemary is the CEO and leads product development. She is also responsible for the vision, inspiration, and developing products that fulfill the mission of nonprofit customers. Before Ardent Cause, Rosemary spent 25 years in information technology, a big part of the College of Management education. She was at Sun Microsystem, which all of you know, a world-class company, Amadel and Control Data Corporation, as systems engineer / inventor, engineering management, and general management of a large global division. Since August 2012, Rosemary is also the lead instructor for the Michigan Inform Activate program, a 10-month educational program originally created with the support of National Science Foundation, and it was designed to help women start technology, a great initiative for certainly in this campus. Ladies and gentlemen, some of you may not remember, you're too young. This institution started with all male students and teachers. We have changed. You can see in this one. So change is evident, and she is a leader who's supporting and introducing women in workforce, certainly in information technology, and leveraging technology transfer from research universities in the US. Rosemary also co-founded the Michigan Council of Women in Technology and its foundation, providing support for girls and women pursuing technology careers and interests. It is now 600 plus members strong. What a pleasure to welcome our alumna, somebody coming home who's done us proud. Rosemary.
Thank you. It is so much fun to come back. I appreciate that. All right, how many people are here because they have to be? Oh, come on. Jackie. Well, I appreciate you all coming, even though I know you're getting credit and free lunch. That's a good thing. Nothing wrong with free lunch. Yes, I did get my MBA here, literally in this room for 2 years. We were trapped in here and just absolutely loved it. So, and Lawrence Tech has been so much to me over the years since then, involved in the Women in Technology program. Lawrence Tech was the place where we hosted the first girls' summer camps, computer camps for girls here. And that's now expanded, but it's still hosted every year at Lawrence Tech, which is just fabulous. So supportive of the cause, the Women in Technology cause. We are making progress, and it's thanks to folks like you guys that are really making that happen. So what we're going to talk about today, I will, if you want to talk about my company and what we're doing, we are all about data. We do data mining. We're kind of trendy considering that we work in nonprofits, which is a challenge, but it's nice to be in front of things, right? Nice to be at the front of the wave. So, but what I'm going to talk about instead of that is really about the Lego movie. Did any of you guys see the Lego movie? Anybody? Come on, admit it. So that should be an assignment. I'm telling you, you should all go see the Lego movie. I know it looks like a kid's movie. It's not a kid's movie. You should go see that movie. So there were some really important messages in there. First of all, Mr. Business is bad, right? So there's this whole thing about making fun of their own company. This is really important when you guys get out and go to work, to really keep your head in the right place. You know, it's not just about business. It's about a lot of other things. Also business, a lot of other things than making money. Stay away from Craggle. Craggle, I hate to give this away, because you're all going to go see the movie, right? Yes. Yes. Okay, I won't tell you about Craggle. But stay away from Craggle. Don't follow instructions and be a master builder. So don't follow instructions, and everyone can be a master builder. The most simplest guy on the team in the Lego movie became a master builder. Everyone can be a master builder. You can really do great things, and you don't have to always follow the instructions. So it's worth going to the movie. And it's fun, besides. It's really fun. So let's talk about this. Right now, there is this huge movement across the country. You guys are seeing it here in the entrepreneurial programming, right? There's a movement to be a maker. Everybody should be a maker. We should all make something. We should write a book. We should put things on Etsy. We should, if we're a little bit inadequate maybe, if we're not actually making something. So what do we do if we don't think that we're creative, or that we're not really, we don't have those capabilities to think of something to make? So do we just feel inadequate and try to kind of go get a quiet job in the corner somewhere and no one will notice that we're not a maker? So does anybody here think that maybe they're not as creative as they should be or would want to be? Anybody? I always thought I needed to be more creative. I was never the creative one. My whole life, I was never I was the engineer in our house. I was the person who read all the time, got straight A's all the time, and I have 5 siblings. And so whenever anybody got a game, I was the one they would hand the box to, and I read the instructions, and I told everyone how to play. I'm really good at that. I'm a good engineer. And when the snakes were dying in the cage because it was too cold in the barn, we had to keep the snake cage. Yes, we had a snake cage. I lived on a farm. It was too cold, and so they needed to get warmed up. So I took the toaster apart, and I built a little snake cage warmer thing out of it. And so, that was pretty fun. I didn't think of that as creative. Nobody said, wow, how creative. They just said, I solved the problem of the freezing snakes. And I took my dad's drill, and I made the spirograph go automatically, and things like that were really just solving problems. So I was a good problem solver. I'm going to grow up to be an engineer, and I'm going to solve problems. And so I did go to college and studied chemistry. I was going to be a scientist. I didn't actually like it very much, but that was my path. So I kept taking classes, and I didn't really want to graduate because I was afraid I would have to be a chemist. I'm sorry. Is there any chemists? Hopefully not. Hopefully nobody's unhappy now. So I happened to just stumble on a computer science class as something to do. I took every math and computer science, math and chemistry and physics, and finally I accidentally get into this computer science class. There were not very many at that time. It was one of the earliest computer science programs It was certainly the first set of people taking computer science classes. This was when I was up at Central, Michigan. And so I just fell in love with this computer science thing. And it was just fortunate that the course that I took, you know, there were not a lot of instructions. It was still pretty early days. And so we basically were given a task. Here's a problem. Go solve it. That's my kind of thing. So go solve a problem without someone telling me how to do that. And so I got a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science because I just kept going to class. And I went to the computer lab. We didn't have PCs. We didn't have laptops. We didn't have internet. We didn't have any of that stuff. So when we were going to use the computers, we had to go to the campus, to the lab on the campus. A few people remember. We go to the lab on the campus. And I was there so much, they finally felt sorry for me and they gave me a job. So then I just kind of moved in. See, this is a normal thing for me. So I moved in and I finished this computer science degree. And I did end up with a major in chemistry, but I never took any other chemistry classes and I didn't go any farther with that. And I never thought that there was a reason for this, that I was, had the opportunity to be creative by solving problems in computer classes. I just knew that it was more fun. I got to go and create stuff. I got to solve problems. I'm still not thinking of myself as creative. So I go to work at a computer company, Control Data, which was engineering computers, and I get put down at Chrysler in my first real assignment. And they just gave me a problem to solve. They didn't really know how to deal with people who were fresh out of school. So I just showed up. And I only knew how to do a couple things, so I took the skills that I had from college. I knew how to do Fortran, if anyone has heard of Fortran. Yep. And it was an engineering kind of company, so I wrote this plotter queuing system that would, it saved them a ton of money. It saved them all kinds of time. They just loved it. And so by not having anybody tell me how to do what I needed to do, just giving me that endpoint, I managed to figure out how to get there, and I had a great time doing it. And that actually gave me freedom from there to do other things that were a little bit looser than the normal assignments at Chrysler. I got to write I had a tendency to volunteer, so this is one thing to remember. If ever you can volunteer for whatever is new, do that. So whatever the new thing is. So we had a new thing come along. It was called a supercomputer. And yeah, this is this monstrous machine that is now the one in my pocket, right? This supercomputer, I always just volunteered. I'll take care of it. I'll learn it. I'll take it. Whatever it is, I'll take care of it. And so I was the only person in the whole Chrysler environment that knew anything about this supercomputer and how to keep it running. And so they would call me. So this was the days we lived in the basement. All IT people live in the basement, and the operations people, all the computers are in this big computer room with halogen or halon and all this terrible stuff. And they would call, yes, they would call when anything went wrong. The operators didn't know what to do. Something went wrong, so I was the only person to call, so they would call me in the middle of the night, sometimes 5 times in the middle of the night. So that was a terrible problem for me. So I had to solve that problem. So I wrote an expert system, and this was before anybody had such a thing, that would help them answer the questions so they wouldn't have to call me at night. So just solving a problem for myself, right? Just solving a problem. That's all I ever did. As I was there, the very last thing I did is something that actually still exists today. We had, this was with the very beginning of workstations that did not, or computers that did not have to be in the computer room. So engineering workstations, and they were about this big, and they too were, less than the computer in my pocket. Huge boxes that would sit next to your desk, and we didn't have a network. This attached to the screen that was also on the desk, and people would do CAD drawings, and they would create things on these brand new computers that would then break, and their work would be lost because there was no other place. There was no Dropbox, no cloud storage, none of that stuff. So we had to come up with a way to keep that from happening, and so we bought some extra disk packs. They weighed about 60 pounds. I think they had maybe a meg on them, probably not even a whole meg. Pick them up. Boom! And we'd drop them on a cart. And then we would drive the cart across the complex to each engineer's desk, one at a time. We would pick it up. Boom! And we would have to go through all this Unix stuff to get it to recognize this new disk drive, copy the stuff over from one to the other, reverse the procedure, boom! Drive it back to the computer room, and copy that onto those reel-to-reel tapes that you might have seen in movies. This was horrible. Not only was it hard on my back, it was the most boring thing you could ever imagine doing. So obviously we had to solve that problem. So we wrote a system that would send the data to the computer room in a different way and built some. We actually went and got to go shopping for really cool hardware, robotic tape drive things and all this cool stuff that was just being invented. So it was a lot of fun. And it's still out there today. And that was just solving a problem because I'm lazy, I'm easily bored, I don't want to do the same thing over and over again. So still not thinking creative, but what was happening, other companies then started calling me, and so I took a job. I got lured away, took a job at another company, and then realized that they had hired me because they thought I was creative. They thought I was an inventor, and I never thought of myself that way. And I actually was thinking I was in trouble because I wasn't going to be a success. I was used to being a success, and I wasn't going to be a success because I had no idea how to do that. But in the end, really, it happened. It was just, you could probably figure this out, right? The people, the customers, had problems. And so my job was to go talk to the customers. What are their problems? Solve their problems. It's the same process again. Surprise, surprise. And so things went well there. I get lured over to Sun Microsystems, and the exact same thing happens again. All the customers have problems. They're all looking for solutions to problems. A company like that has such an open and creative culture. You have lots of freedom, lots of time to go and build things and solve problems in a creative way. So here it is. I'm starting to get close to that 5-0 number and thinking, you know what? I'm slow, but I might be creative. It takes me a while to get there. So at that point, I started my own company. Thought I was going to get brave, not just creative, but brave, and started hiring people who, it's a software company, so I needed to get some engineers. I needed to get some designers and engineers for our software products. And I hired some people who had never been told they were creative, and they had the same problem. They didn't think they were creative. They didn't think they could do things without being told what to do. Even the very young people, I mostly hire people that are fresh out of school or still in school, and they didn't realize. They didn't realize their capacity. So, the finally sinking in, you give people, that people understand the problem and the freedom and a little bit of tools, and you can be creative. There's some process things that go on in here, and so let's talk about that. And you don't have to be 50 years old. It helps, but you don't have to be 50 years old. Once you get started, too, here's the other thing that has been an interesting learning for me, coming into starting this company. And all I knew when we started was that I was the people I wanted to serve, the people I wanted to help. So my whole career was around finding out what the problem was and solving it. So I found the people that I wanted to help. I went and talked to them and said, what are your problems? So I could figure out what we should be doing as a company. So it seems like once you get started in this, you just get inundated with things. It becomes like, it's almost like a torturous thing that happens. You start seeing problems everywhere, which is good and bad, but you also start seeing solutions everywhere. And if you see the Lego movie, what you're gonna see are these master builders. When you become a master builder, all of a sudden, there's ideas that just start coming at you, little solutions and pieces of solutions that come at you all the time. It's really cool. It's really fun. In fact, one of the things I'm working on right now, because I do teach this women entrepreneur class, is how to sort out the ideas, how to actually quickly go through and sort. We'll talk a little bit about that too, but mostly what we want to think about is what does it take to be creative, to be able to get to that point where you're getting all of these ideas for solutions, where this stuff is just happening to you all the time. And so what I think it is 3 things. So everybody says you can remember 3 things. So 3 things that you need to have. This is a process, right? So I'm going to give you the instructions on how to not use instructions. 1, you need to have an environment that lets you be creative. So you need to have a place where you can go, where you can think freely, where there's nobody telling you what to do, no distractions coming your way, whatever it is that makes you free to think on your own. In my office at work, I have a desk that you can't Some people would just go crazy looking at it, but it's got toys all over. It's got things to play with. It's got Legos on it. It's got, there's always something that I can do with my hands. That's just the way I am. Some people would hate that, but the point is to find a place that is good for you. So I know Jackie is a writer. Is anybody else in here a writer? Yes. So writing, so for people like me who are non-writers, writing seems like a mystical thing. It is so creative, right? You have to have so much imagination. You have to it's just a whole different kind of person. Well, if you ask a writer, how do they do it? They're going to tell you that they work. They have a place where they go work. And most writers will say that they go and they work from 9 to 12 every day. They write. They research, they work, they write, they think, they research, they work. That's a process they do. Say the place they go. The second thing is time. You have to have the time. You have to take the time, plan the time to commit to doing this. So whether it's writing or whether it's designing something new, whether it's creating a drawing, whatever it is that you're doing, you take the time, you commit to 2 hours every other day or to every Saturday morning. If your job is not, or your work that you're doing now isn't conducive to freedom to be creative, or you really do have to follow instructions. There's very few jobs where you actually get to do everything you want all day, every day. My job is not like that, and I'm actually in charge, so that's a clue. So find the environment, find the time, schedule the time, stick to it, and then the third piece is the skills. And so you're here, which means you're building skills. That's a pretty important step. Textbooks are actually a really cool thing that has instructions, right? There are times when you need instructions. Textbooks are instructions. Sometimes you have instructions at work. So you take Legos actually are skills. If you think of the Legos coming at you as a master builder, as a master Lego, actually master builder is actually a Lego job title, by the way, for those who are into Legos. If you are a master builder, you're the ones who create the kits. If you've ever been in a Lego store and looked at Legos for sale, they have those kits now, Mr. Business. Anyway, those are master builders. So the master builders have all these tools at hand, right? The parts are coming at them all the time. Those are your skills. So you have to have some skills. You have to know what your skills are, know your capacity and your capabilities. And some of those skills are things that are outside of you. It doesn't mean you do everything. It means you know what you have. You know what you have to work with. So you need all those three things. So those three things are environment, time, and skills. Okay? So if I want to solve the problem of interplanetary space vacation travel, which I do. I'll tell you about that another time if we have time. I probably am not going to be able to actually build a spaceship by myself or a kind of wormhole tube thing. I don't really have the skills to do that. However, I do have a lot of technology skills. I probably could be part of a team of people who are working on that. And in fact, I have entrepreneurial schools. I could probably put together a team of people to work on that. Or maybe I'm actually not a bad writer. I could solve this in fiction. And in fact, when I was 12, I wrote a story about interplanetary vacation. So there's always a way, right? It doesn't mean that I need to go build a spaceship. I can't go build a spaceship. I could go back to school. Probably a little bit late to start for that much of a technical thing. So now what we're going to do, take a couple minutes. We're going to exercise. We're going to do a project. So think now. This is the Lawrence Tech. This is M3036, and I know there are no instructions here. There's no rules. There's no boundaries. So for me to think, we have committed to 10 minutes more, at least 10 minutes. So first, we're going to take a couple of minutes to think about the kickstart piece, to get your ideas flowing. And I'm not going to do. Has everybody been to some kind of brainstorming exercise? You know what brainstorming is and how to do that. We're not going to spend a lot of time on that. So what we'll do instead, but those are really important tools. You're going to use them throughout your whole career, all the time. The more you use them, the better, the more creative you're going to be. But for now, think about, we're going to start with problems. So the first piece of this is the idea piece and the solutioning piece is very creative. The problem piece is very creative. So problems to solve, even as I was driving yesterday with a colleague of mine, And we were talking about something, and she looked at me, and she said, oh, I wish I was creative like you. And I looked, and I said, what are you talking about? And so within 5 minutes, she had come up with 3 new ideas. She never thought of herself as creative. You have to just, okay, so we're going to take a couple of minutes now. By yourself or with somebody nearby you, a couple of people nearby you, a couple minutes. What problem today, since you got up this morning, maybe yesterday, what problems did you have that you wish somebody would fix? Was there ever a time where you thought, dang, I wish somebody would fix that? I wish somebody would do something about that? Potholes, there's a great one. Wish somebody would fix that, yeah. I'll tell you, I get this, I stop and get a cup of coffee, a drive-through cup of coffee for the road for a drive, right? You are there by the time that coffee is cool enough to drink. I hate that. It drives me crazy. What else? Ooh, bad. All right, so together, go spend 2 minutes, 3 minutes together or by yourself, come up with a couple of things on your own with somebody else right now. I'm sorry to hear that you all have so many problems. This is awful. This is just terrible. And if you are thinking about starting a company, if you work for a company and you have the opportunity to think about new products, there are lots of ways that you talk to other people about their problems, right? And we teach a lot about this in the entrepreneurial classes about getting ideas from potential customers. So you all see already, though, you can see things. Some people can't stop talking even about their problems. Okay, what did you guys come up with?
Scholarship programs drive undergraduate admissions.
What's the problem?
We don't have enough undergraduates.
Oh, you're missing undergrad. That's a big problem. Who else? What did you guys come up with in the back? You were talking. Come on, somebody.
How to find a missing airplane.
What's that?
How to find a missing airplane.
Whoa. Serious problems in this room. What else? Yes, definitely. Too many emails spoil the bane of our existence. Yes. So it's easy to find problems. But see, now you're moving, right? Now you're awake. Now you got lots of problems. Okay, now let's talk about the next stage, of course, the idea stage, the solution stage. And, clearly we all have something to think about. If you worked for a design company, an advertising company, and you were assigned to create a logo for Microtronics, maybe we need a new logo. So you would probably have to make 150 different designs. So one of the things that's important in solutioning is don't stop. You think you got you already know the answer to this problem that you're talking about, right? You know, no, you don't know the answer. Put a bunch of answers. Talk to other people. Do some brainstorming. Lots and lots of solutions to the problem. What's going to happen in the beginning, you're kind of slow to get started, maybe. That's one problem. You're also going to be using other people's ideas without even knowing it. You're going to be copying other people's ideas. I think it was Einstein, who said that really invention is just stealing somebody else's ideas. I mean, you keep your sources secret and you'll get credit, right? So anyway, so you do a lot of ideas. So then you move past. You get all the stuff that somebody else's ideas kind of out of the way, and you're forcing yourself to get to the more innovative things that are deeper inside or that you are coming up with yourself. There's other things you can do on the brainstorming thing. One of my favorite things to do is take the problem. You're focused on solving the problem and ideas for the problem. Talk about the causes of the problem. How can you cause the problem? If you're stuck and you can't think of a solution, think about how to cause the problem. That is going to walk you toward a solution phase. So these are sort of some brainstorming tricks. Think about being kind of obnoxious and just intentionally asking terrible questions and taking the opposing side of everything. Lots of good tricks. Okay, so now you have 3 minutes to solve one of your problems that you came up with. Let's get as many solutions as possible. Not one solution, as many as possible. Go. 3 minutes. That was fun. Did you solve it?
Yes. How to fix the potholes.
I work in the advancement office, so I bring in money, so I'm asking, well, maybe
some substance in the potholes. I'm being.
No.
That's great.
I know.
That's great.
You're putting me on the spot here. I was thinking more of like a spongy, initially a spongy component that you mix in with the asphalt little, rocks.
Yeah.
And then put that in to the hole so it stretches out and then eventually, hardens and solidifies. This gentleman, suggested about we got to do something about the salt distribution. That's the cause.
There you go.
And breaking it down. But then he also said maybe even putting concrete on top of the, whatever I.
Or having a tank, or buying tanks.
Or buy a tank with somebody else just to get us to and from work.
Yes, absolutely. Those are all great.
Very good answer.
I had somebody we were just talking to who has a problem with too many bricks, right? All this demolition that's going on in the city. Maybe you could smash some bricks up and use them to fill the holes. So how many solutions did you come up with for your challenge? Whatever problem you were, 5? 8 or 9? Anybody do better than that? 8 or 9? Oh yeah. How about you guys? You guys were working hard. 5's good. You only spent 3 minutes. You came up with 5 things in 3 minutes. Think about that. If you had 3 hours that you set aside, imagine what you could do. Oh my God. You would be unstoppable. So the whole point of this is, can you be creative? Are we, whether our mothers told us or not, are we all creative? The answer is yes. It is something you're born with. There's always this argument, right? Is creativity something is born, or can you? You know what? It is something you're born with. We are all born with it. We are all creative. We just have to take the time, find an environment, take the time, put your skills in there. You guys have got strong skills already. So the last thing, I'll just spend 1 minute on this because as we're not going to go to the next stage, which is lots of more work where you do apply skills and resourcing and start talking about solutions. The thing that we do, that you have to do first, now you have, say you spent 3 hours. So you got 5 ideas in 3 minutes. So now we got 3 hours. So now we got hundreds of ideas. Oh my God, what do we do now? So this is actually literally something I'm working on. It's a tool to do this, but I call this a value, opportunities, and skills test, right? So is there value in the solution? So you go through your list, all the things that really just, nobody's gonna want it, not gonna work, off the list, right? You got, now your 500 things is now down to maybe 200 things. So then the next one is, is there an opportunity if you build it? Either it's, like my expert system for the supercomputer at Chrysler, the opportunity was to give me a better night's sleep. It was a one-person thing, right? If you're going to go and work for someone or start your own company or build products, is there a bigger opportunity for this thing? If you're going to sell something, you want to make sure that the opportunity is really big enough. And so there's a whole series of classes on finding out what the opportunity is for new products. And then lastly is the skills. Do you have the skills? Where do you get the skills? What are the resourcing things? This is all part of your test. So now you took your 500 ideas. You thought about whether or not they have value, whether or not there was an opportunity. Are the skills something within reason for you, or for you and your team, or whatever it is that you want to work with? You want to go get a company or get a job at NASA so that you can somehow be involved in vacation space travel, right? Those are all ways to solve that problem that are within my sphere. Maybe it's not. So now you've taken your list of 500 things and maybe you're down to 50. That's pretty good. Might dig in a little bit deeper on some of those. I'm seriously thinking about, I don't know if you guys ever see that, anybody here like wine? There's one, I know. So there's a thing that came out that people have been buying the last couple of years. It's an aerator. So you stick it in the neck of the bottle, and when you pour it, aerates the wine and give it a little bit of air. It kind of enhances the flavor. So I'm thinking about an aerator for when you fill the coffee cup, right? It's attached to the lid somehow, the coffee cup, so it aerates the coffee when it goes into the travel cup, so it cools it down so I can drink it. What do you think? Maybe. Not really a software product, might be a little outside my company space. So anyway, the whole point is, you can do it. You all have it. In 3 minutes, you all came up with ideas. That's the end of the speech. Now we have a little more time, if you want to ask some questions, and I can talk about anything that's, I'll make up stuff. I'm really good at that. Yes.
And I really appreciate, very interesting, learning and presentation. Also, I want to add the power of imagination. That is very important. We imagine when you
Yes.
talk about, kids, Lego is imagination, and that becomes creativity.
It's true. It's true. And having that space and the environment that you are free to imagine, that's where you start to see that show up, right? When you're sitting in a place where there's all kinds of stuff going on and you have an assignment and you got all these tests you have to do and people are talking, and it's very hard to be imaginative. It's very hard. Sometimes you need to go somewhere else. Maybe you go climb a tree, maybe whatever it is that works for you. Yeah. I agree. What else? Any other suggestions?
Rosemary, I have a question. What is, in your opinion, a major difference between our generation and the new generation, this generation?
They're smarter than us?
Now, why did you ask that question?
That's really a good question. I don't see a lot of differences. So in my company, we have a number of people who are my age. We have a lot of very young people. And everybody plays. I don't see a big difference. The way we work, we talk, we have open work areas, we have closed work areas. So people who, when you need a place to go, that's quiet. When you need something, we have toys and dartboards and all that stuff. And so sometimes people work really hard. It doesn't seem to make a difference how old they are.
If I may quickly make a point, that one of the reasons, may not be the only reason, is access to information. When we were growing up, you never even went 7 miles out of the house. When I went to my village, which is 7 miles, we had to prepare for a month to go there. How we will go there? What is the conveyance needed? I'm talking 50s, right? The kids growing up today, before they know how to drink milk, they have a computer at home. So they have world information right in their fingertips. So smartness is not necessarily access to information. So I don't think there is any genetic basis that kids today are smarter than we were. But they are well informed, relatively, than we were. So they have more access to knowledge.
They might think they're smarter.
Right.
No, I think that the problems are, when I talk about this major invention, right, where we took these huge disk packs, and carried them around and did all this manual labor, they don't have that problem anymore. We have different problems. You just have different problems. This is all the same solutioning process.
I think along with that information, I think it's also technologically they are ahead in the sense that these days when children, even young children, they know how to operate a cell phone without reading instructions.
It's true.
Whereas I need to read that instruction, I still don't get all of it. So
just get a young child to help you. That's all right, what do you guys, what are some of the younger opinion on this topic? Anybody? What's the difference between you and us? What do you see? You're afraid to talk?
They still need grades, so they're going to tell you.
Here's somebody here, yes?
I'd say the ability to change more rapidly.
Yes?
The ability to adapt to one's environment.
Adapting, yes. Sometimes we get kind of slow motion there as we get older. It's true. It's not really about our heads, it's that we just can't move very fast anymore. What else? Yes?
I'd say the willingness to share information, at least where I work. I mean, I work for the government. And
You work for the government?
I feel that, I feel like a lot of the more senior people, they try to keep information close to the vest, and they don't really want to share that information.
That's a
with
good
some of
point.
the
I've seen
younger
that in my
people.
daughter. This, we all have kind of this terror about privacy and locking down our Facebook accounts and all that, and she's like, everybody knows everything anyway. Why bother?
I think as we get older, we get into a traditional way of thinking, where the young aren't in that same traditional sense. And then as they get older, they think traditional way. The next generation comes from conventional, because they're not traditional from the older conventions.
So they're going to think slower too as they get older, is that?
Yeah, we end up becoming our parents.
Right.
as we get older.
Does happen.
And new technology that we can't adapt to, the younger generation adapts to. And they invent better things. That's what I see.
Yeah, and our challenge and opportunity is to keep up with that, right?
Yes.
Because it's pretty fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm interested because I look around and I see that we have such a diverse body of students, students from the United States.
Yes.
Can see here some students, I think China, from Middle East, some students from India. And so I'm interested in asking them the question of coming from a different country and at the same time being here. How do they feel? What kind of questions do they have to a person that is an entrepreneur, that is American, that has a different, I'm sure thinks in a different way than the way you do. And so do you have any questions or any advice from her? And we have a person from Russia. So we have several American people too, I guess. So I think it's really a great group of people to actually
Sure. Any questions? If I don't know, I will make it up. You'll never be able to tell the difference. Yes.
Yeah, so Dr. Vaz is pointing out the challenge, but yet the strengths of our growing diverse culture. And so
Yes.
one of the challenges then is that we become more inclusive in our organizations and in our solution seeking, so that we bring everybody into the solution seeking mode. And sort of in support of education, I would say one of the things that I hope the younger generation is going to value more, and then that's our challenge as educators, is that the younger generation is reading about the solutions that were generated in the past. Because I think too often, solutions that might have come out of favor are forgotten about, but yet they could just be sort of reinvented for the future.
Sure. They'll get
So
rediscovered
that's-
along the way. Yes.
Yes, I have a question about being creative. When you are sitting at your creative desk or whatever,
My best.
and you get a creative block, what do you do to get you on the right track again?
I go for a walk.
Okay.
I get up from my desk. I'm not a very good desk person anyway, but I do sit there. You have to use tools. You have to have paper, whiteboards, whatever. So yeah, if you get stuck, go somewhere else. Talk to a person. Just change it up. What do you do? Haven't been stuck yet?
No.
You will.
Exercise usually.
Good. Exercise is a good one. You can really get a lot of good thinking done, right? Yeah.
Some of my best ideas have come on my drive to work or travel. And sometimes you get so deep in thought I can miss my exit.
A little distracting.
While we can continue to interact, we have a great inspiration for you to ask questions from an expert and share your thoughts. But on behalf of everyone for this very stimulating, inspiring lecture, token of appreciation.
Aw, thank you. Thank you very much. Very nice. Thank you all for coming.